what makes a video game scary? Some say it's the visuals, or the jump scares, or the chase. The truth is, the best horror doesn't come from what's seen, but from what's left unseen. It's the silence, the emptiness, and the feeling of being completely alone. We're hardwired to fear being isolated. From an evolutionary point of view, humans are social creatures. Being separated from the group used to mean danger. Predators, darkness, and the unknown all become amplified when there was nobody else around. That instinct never really went away, and games just know how to tap right into it. Think about some of your favorite horror games and why they work so well. The early Resident Evil games and Silent Hill are perfect examples of why sometimes less is more. Rather than throwing everything at you through jump scares or explaining every detail, these games use subtle hints, limited vision, and quiet world building to let your imagination do the heavy lifting. Many of them feature isolation as a narrative and gameplay mechanic, which helps create tension, like creaking floors or flickering lights. Limited vision, slow movement, scarce resources, they all make you think twice before taking another step forward. The camera, the sound, and even your inventory screen are all used to remind you that you're vulnerable. You're not a superhero in these moments, you're just surviving. There's nobody you can call for help, nobody else to rely on, just you and your wits. When humans are stressed out, we tend to fill the blanks with the worst possible outcome. There could be anything lurking in the dark, and the only option we have is to venture into it. These intense stretches of fear and anxiety are usually broken up by save rooms or safe spots, making them feel all the more invaluable. Kinda like when you find a bonfire after a really difficult area in Dark Souls. Those moments of calm are important. They reset your nerves and make the next scare even more effective. Without them, fear just becomes noise. And with them, it sort of feels like the game itself is breathing with you, tightening and releasing at the right moments. It's a rhythm that keeps you hooked and constantly on edge.
Resident Evil.
The Resident Evil remake from 2002 does a great job at making the player feel completely lost and alone. As you wander through the Spencer mansion, for most of the game, the only other humans you encounter are the infected corpses roaming the halls. The few times you spend with Barry or Rebecca offer small moments of sanctuary in a situation that otherwise seems hopeless. The game also severely limits your resources, healing items, ammo, and even your saves, which makes every encounter feel a bit of a puzzle in itself, like you may have to pick and choose your battles just so you have enough ammo. This also makes saving a bit more strategic, like you can't just save scum whenever you want. The quiet and haunting ambiance of the Spencer Mansion is one of Resident Evil's greatest strengths. Often, the only sounds you'll hear are your own loud, echoey footsteps in the otherwise eerily quiet hallways and empty rooms. The save rooms themselves often have soft, calming music, letting you know, okay, I can rest. This place is safe. Resident Evil is one of the pioneers of the modern horror formula, and it used tank controls and a very intentional fixed camera angle to display its horror exactly how the developers wanted. You never have full control. Your vision and movement are both restricted by design, and that lack of freedom turns even a familiar hallway into something unpredictable and deeply unsettling. The game does an incredible job at setting itself up from the very beginning. You're just as confused as the members of STARS are. Why are there sick cannibalistic humans and dogs? What happened in the Spencer Mansion? I really love the show don't tell approach of the classic RE games because it just shows how powerful subtly giving the hints to the player is. Capcom's approach is what makes these games so effective. Like early on when you encounter the first zombie, Barry shoots it and kills it. Or so you think. Turning around to leave the room, you hear the loud slam of a door and realize the body is gone. The game never tells you what happened, it just plants that thought in your head that it's still out there. That kind of quiet psychological manipulation is something that the newer games and even the remakes rarely capture. While Capcom set the foundation of every survival horror game to follow with Resident Evil, Konami may have perfected the use of solitude, atmosphere, and the art of subtle storytelling in its world design. Silent Hill's natural foggy environments make it impossible to see what's ahead, leaving you with a constant state of uncertainty. It forces the player to rely on sound, like the crackle of the radio or an unexplainable sound in the distance. There are almost no people in the dense town of Silent Hill. It feels dead, but never empty. You can sense that something is still there, watching. Every alley, every building hums with quiet dread. Each game in the series differs slightly in tone, but all of them excel at creating that feeling of unease just through its ambience. The quiet, deserted streets of Silent Hill are strangely peaceful, almost creating a false sense of security. Silent Hill uses human instinct and psychological horror not only to create a sense of discomfort, but it also utilizes fear and anxiety to create a truly terrifying and uncomfortable situation. There is no part of these games that make you feel comfortable, and that's only intensified when you get to the other world. Now, you're not just alone in a deserted town, you're in a twisted, nightmarish version of it, shaped by guilt, fear, and terror. Every corner feels unsafe. You never know what's real in these games, and the other world is obviously a separate hellish entity, but you also realize you're not just exploring a haunted town, you're walking through somebody's subconscious, so is it really that different from reality? Silent Hill also has one of the most unique and atmospheric soundtracks and audio design of any game I've ever played. Akira Yamaoka's work on Silent Hill is honestly probably half of the game's identity. So many emotionally charged tracks that can set the mood or the feeling for each scene. Resident Evil leans heavily on ambient creepy tracks, and while they are good, I don't think it even comes close to how unsettling and outright depressing the music is in Silent Hill. The music feels like the world itself is mourning. Silent Hill does an incredible job not just at making you afraid of what's in front of you, but making you afraid of being alone with your thoughts. The reason Resident Evil and Silent Hill still feel so timeless is because they understand something about fear that's hard to replicate. Modern horror games have to balance that old school tension with modern design expectations. Voice acting, cinematics, freedom of movement. Some games lose that intimacy by giving you too much control or too much information. But when they do it right, it feels like a return to that old feeling, being small, uncertain, and trapped somewhere you don't belong.
But I knew my thoughts and ideas could manifest as reality in this dark place.
I think Alan Wake 2 is a perfect example of how to bring what worked well in games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil to a more modern audience. Alan Wake 2 features two different protagonists. You play as Saga Anderson in the physical world, and while she does have many moments of peace with people like Alex Casey and some of the people living in Bright Falls, the times when you're alone at once again showcase that isolation aspect. You feel the same tension and unease that Silent Hill mastered decades ago. When you're not playing as Saga, you take on the titular writer, Alan Wake himself, in The Dark Place, which is where a lot of the game's horrifying moments really are. Alan is confined to the dark place, and there are pretty much no other actual people in there, save for maybe Mr. Door, who's already a little weird, and Thomas Zane, which, yeah. For most of this game, you're alone. Both of these guys are strange and unreliable, not the kind of people you'd want to ask for help. The game slowly draws you into Alan's descent into madness, as he struggles desperately to escape this dark, oppressive world. The emptiness, the distorted environments, and the creeping sense of dread make isolation not just a mechanic, but an emotional aspect of the story itself. Alan Wake 2 also does a great job of highlighting loneliness with the contrast of how normal Bright Falls appears to be. It's a sweet rural town with tons to do and people to meet, and when you compare that to the endless, almost hellish-like dark place, the visuals here are dark. Bright lights fill the sky, rain is constantly pouring down. It really shows in a physical manifestation just how broken, alone, and depressed Alan is while he's been trapped here for 13 years. While not inherently a horror game, I don't think there's anything else that captures that isolated feeling better than the Metroid series. This franchise is built on the foundation that you'd be sent into an alien world with absolutely no guide and no help. Now, there are a few games like Prime 3, Fusion, and Dread that do have side characters that help you along the way a little bit of the time, but for the most part, the only person you'll see is Samus. Even in the original NES game, the vast scale of the map really helps emphasize just how small you are in a really foreign and dangerous world. I think the Prime games do a great job of visually telling you a story. Talon 4 is completely deserted of any other people or higher life form aliens. You can really piece together what each area may have been used for, and the Chozo lore in the game even tells you tons of info about a race that's since been long dead. The same can also be said for the Luminoth in Metroid Prime 2. There's hardly any of them left, just occasional remains and logs. One of the best examples in the series is toward the end of Super Metroid. You've spent the whole game exploring Zebes and its secrets, and now you're at the end, ready to take on Mother Brain. When you get to this room, the music shifts into this uneasy, tense tune. Everything in this room is dead. Not even just dead, every creature here has had the life sucked out of it. As a player, you can probably use intuition and put 2 and 2 together and understand that there's a serious Metroid threat nearby. Even touching these lifeless husks completely disintegrates the creature, leaving nothing behind but its ashes. That tension and fear is capitalized on almost immediately after when a giant Metroid swoops in and begins to attack Samus. Just before draining all of her life, it realizes it knows you. This Metroid is the very same one that Samus saved at the end of Metroid 2. This is the first and possibly only time in the whole game Samus sees a friendly face, and while it may be a Metroid, somehow it's comforting to see it cry after nearly killing you, and especially later on when it sacrifices itself for you. The horror genre is bigger than it's ever been, and there are countless games that use human instinct to pull the fear from our deepest, darkest places. Tension, solitude, and subtle storytelling are what make a horror game timeless. They remind us what it feels like to be vulnerable, to be small in the face of something bigger than ourselves. That's what creates a game that will stay with you even long after you stop playing. Isolation in games is fundamental to connecting us to that raw part of the human experience. Those quiet moments of loneliness are what stick with us. They make the fear feel real, and the relief afterward feel earned. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to see more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And also leave me a comment down below. What's your favorite horror game and why? With that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, happy early Halloween, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye!